Hi everyone. Today I want to share with you a true story. The real reason why I started learning English. Maybe it's similar to your story too. This is the story of why I started learning English. It's a personal journey full of doubt, discovery, and determination. If you're learning English too, I hope my story will encourage you. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The First Spark. I was 16 years old. It was a hot afternoon, and I was sitting in my small bedroom, bored. I turned on the TV and randomly switched channels. Suddenly, I heard a language I didn't understand. It was English, fast, rhythmic, and completely unfamiliar. But something about it made me stop and listen. There was a movie playing. I didn't know the name. I couldn't understand the words, but I could feel the emotions. It was like watching a secret world. That was the first spark. I didn't know it yet, but something had begun. Chapter 2. My first English word. That night, I searched for the movie online. I found it was a romantic comedy from the US. I downloaded the script and started reading. I didn't understand most of it, but one word kept appearing. Hello. I looked it up. It meant chin. Ciao. That simple word felt like magic. It was my first English word, and from that moment, I knew I wanted more. Chapter 3. Struggles and Self-Doubt. I started learning from old textbooks. The grammar was confusing. The pronunciation made no sense. My friends laughed when I tried to speak. "Why are you wasting time on this?" one asked. I almost believed them. I thought maybe I wasn't smart enough. But late at night, I would sit alone with my notebook, practicing, writing, reading, repeating. I didn't know then, but those quiet hours would change my life. Chapter 4. The Power of Consistency. I made a rule for myself. 30 minutes of English every day. No excuses. No skipping. Even when I was tired, even when I failed a quiz, I kept going. I started seeing results. One day, I understood a full sentence in a movie without subtitles. Another day, I introduced myself to a tourist in English. It wasn't perfect, but it was real, and it was mine. That's when I learned something powerful. Small steps matter. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep moving. Chapter 5. A Turning Point. One morning, I received an unexpected message. It was from an English teacher who saw my comment on a learning forum. She offered to help me practice speaking once a week free of charge. I was nervous, but I said yes. Our first conversation was awkward. I forgot words. I froze. But she was kind. She waited. She encouraged. Week by week, I improved. I started to enjoy our sessions. We didn't just talk about grammar. We talked about books, culture, and dreams. That connection changed everything. It reminded me that language is not just rules, it's a bridge between hearts. I was no longer studying English just to pass a test. I was learning it to connect, to express, to grow. And that made all the Difference. Chapter 6. The Notebook of Progress. I began writing everything I learned in a notebook. New words, useful sentences, grammar tips. I also wrote how I felt each day. Today, I understood a full paragraph. Today, I felt stuck. That notebook became my mirror. It showed me how far I had come. When I felt tired, I read the old pages. I could see my progress in my own handwriting. That gave me strength. English was no longer a subject. It was part of my daily life. And that little notebook, simple and quiet, kept me moving forward. Chapter 7. Speaking without fear. There was one skill that still scared me: speaking. Reading and writing were safe. I could take my time. But speaking, that was different. Words disappear as soon as they're spoken. There's no backspace, no second chance. My voice would shake. My mouth would freeze. I avoided conversations. I stayed quiet in class. But deep down, I wanted to be brave. So I started small. I practiced greetings with myself in the mirror. I recorded voice messages and listened again. I joined online speaking clubs, even though I was scared. The first few sessions were hard. I made mistakes. People couldn't always understand me. But nobody laughed. Nobody judged. Slowly, the fear faded. My sentences became clearer. My confidence grew. One day, I introduced myself to a foreigner in a bookstore. We talked for 5 minutes, all in English. I walked away shaking but smiling, because for the first time, I had spoken without fear. Chapter 8. English in My World. As I grew more confident, I began seeing English everywhere. On street signs, in music lyrics, on product labels. I changed the language on my phone to English. I started watching YouTube videos with English subtitles. I wrote my shopping lists in English. The language was no longer just in books. It was part of my daily life. Every little thing became practice. Even mistakes felt useful. When I didn't understand a word, I wrote it down and looked it up later. I built a wall of sticky notes in my room. Words I had learned, quotes I loved, goals I set. My world was slowly becoming bilingual. And with every step, I felt more free. English was no longer a subject. It was becoming part of who I was. Chapter 9. Sharing the Journey. One day, I received a message from a friend. He said, "You've improved so much. How did you do it?" I smiled, then paused. How did I do it? It wasn't one big thing. It was hundreds of small choices. Choosing to study instead of scrolling, choosing to speak even when I was scared, choosing to keep going when it felt hopeless. I decided to share my story online. At first, it was just a blog. Then, people started reading it. Some thanked me. Some asked questions. Others shared their own struggles. I wasn't alone anymore. My story had become part of something bigger. I wasn't just learning English, I was building community. And every time someone said, Your story gave me hope. I knew I was on the right path. Chapter 10. Still learning, always growing. Years have passed since I first said hello. Today, I can watch movies without subtitles. I can write emails, read books, and talk to people from around the world. But I still make mistakes. I still learn new words every week. That's the beauty of language, it never ends. There is always more to explore. English gave me more than just vocabulary. It gave me confidence. It gave me a voice. And most of all, it gave me connection. If you're reading this and you're on your own journey, keep going. Don't wait to be perfect. Just start. Just speak. Just try. Because every word you learn brings you closer to someone. Somewhere. And that's the true magic of language. Chapter 11. A New Purpose. After years of learning English for myself, I began to wonder, what if I used it to help others? I remembered how hard it was in the beginning. No guidance, no encouragement. What if I could be that support for someone else? I started volunteering at a local community center. Once a week, I helped newcomers practice English. At first, I felt shy. Was my English good enough to teach? But I soon realized they didn't need perfection. They needed patience. They needed someone who understood. One woman said, "You know what it feels like. That helps more than grammar rules." And she was right. The more I gave, the more I grew. Teaching made me a better listener, a better speaker, a better human. English had once been my personal goal. Now, it had become my way of giving back, and that gave my journey new meaning. Chapter 12. From Learner to Leader. As more people joined the community classes, I was asked to organize a language exchange event. I had never led anything before. The idea of planning, speaking, and managing a group made me nervous, but I remembered the days when I was too shy to speak at all. This was my chance to grow again. I said yes. We planned for weeks, creating flyers, inviting volunteers, finding a space. On the day of the event, I stood in front of 30 people from 10 different countries. My hands shook. My voice trembled. But then I saw familiar faces, learners just like me. I took a deep breath, smiled, and began. We shared stories, played games, and practiced conversations. The room was full of laughter and learning. At the end, someone said, "This was the most fun I've had learning English." That night, I wrote in my notebook, "Today, I became a leader not because I was perfect, but because I showed up." And I knew this was only the beginning. Chapter 13. Connecting Through English. After the event, something beautiful happened. People began meeting on their own small groups in cafes, parks, and libraries. English was no longer a classroom subject. It became a reason to connect. We shared jokes, childhood stories, and cultural traditions. One student from Japan taught us how to fold origami. A woman from Egypt brought homemade food to share. I realized language opens the door, but stories build the bridge. One evening, a man said to me, "This group feels like home." I felt tears in my eyes. That was the power of learning together. We weren't just improving English. We were building friendships. And those connections made every mistake, every awkward pause, worth it. Chapter 14. Teaching from the Heart. The more I helped others, the more I understood what English really meant to me. It wasn't just a skill, it was a way to reach people. I began designing lessons based on real-life situations. Ordering food, asking for directions, making small talk. I wanted English to feel alive, not like something trapped in a textbook. Students responded with energy and joy. They laughed when we practiced phone calls and role-played at markets. One woman said, "This is the first time I'm not afraid to speak." That was when I knew I was doing something right. I wasn't a professional teacher. I had no fancy degrees. But I had experience. I had compassion. I had heart. And sometimes. That's what matters most. As I saw my students grow. I grew to. Because to teach is to learn twice. Chapter 15. The Full Circle Moment. One rainy afternoon, I stayed late after class to clean up. A young student approached me, a shy boy who had hardly spoken in weeks. He held out a small notebook. Inside, he had written, "Today, I said my first full sentence in English. Thank you." I froze for a moment, then smiled, deeply moved. It reminded me of my own journey, the first word, the first sentence, the first breakthrough. That night, I opened my old notebook, the one where I had written my goals. On the first page, it said, "I want to speak English so I can change my life." I smiled and added below it, "Now I speak English to help others change theirs." And in that quiet moment, I knew my story had come full circle. Chapter 16. A New Dream. After that moment, something shifted inside me. I no longer saw English as just a tool for personal growth. It had become a calling, a way to serve, to build, to inspire. I started dreaming bigger. What if I created a space where anyone, anywhere, could learn English with stories, with heart? I began drafting plans for an online storytelling channel. Simple stories, real voices, two languages side by side. I wrote scripts at night, recorded in the mornings, and edited on weekends. At first, only a few people watched, but slowly, the messages came. I finally understand. This made me cry. Thank you for not making it feel like school. The dream was real, not just for me but for every learner who needed a gentle voice, a story to believe in, and a reason to keep going. And as I shared those stories, I realized my journey was far from over. Chapter 17. The Ripple Effect. A year after launching my storytelling channel, something unexpected happened. A teacher from another country messaged me. She said, "We use your videos in our classroom. The students love them." I was stunned. My little stories recorded in a quiet room were now reaching classrooms I had never seen. Other messages followed from Brazil, Morocco, Indonesia. "Your voice makes English less scary. My child listens every night before sleep." This helped me pass my exam. Each message reminded me that learning is never just personal. When we grow, others grow with us. I realized my story had become part of other people's stories. And that's when I truly understood. When you share what once held you back, you give someone else their courage to move forward. Chapter 18. The Message I Needed. One evening, I received a short message from a teenager in Vietnam. It said, "I was going to give up on English. Then I found your video. It made me feel like someone understood." I sat in silence for a long time because I remembered being that teenager. I remembered the confusion, the shame, the fear. And I remembered how one story changed my path. Now, my story had done the same for someone else. It wasn't about fame or numbers. It was about being there when someone needed hope. That message reminded me why I started, and it gave me strength to keep going. Chapter 19. The Language of Belonging. Language is more than words. It's the way we say, "I see you. You matter. You're not alone." English became that language for me and for many others. I met people who had no one to talk to until English gave them a voice. I saw shy students bloom into storytellers. I watched fear turn into friendship. English didn't just help us speak. It helped us connect, heal, and belong. In every class, every video, every story, I felt that truth more deeply. And I realized maybe learning English isn't just about jobs or travel. Maybe it's about finding a place in the world, a place where we are heard, understood, and welcomed. Chapter 20. The Journey Continues. Now, as I look back on my English learning journey, I am amazed at how much has changed since the beginning. There was a time when I was too shy to say a single word in English, and even simple greetings felt intimidating. Today, I can hold a conversation in English with confidence. My journey has been full of challenges, but each challenge I overcame made me stronger and more determined. Just the other day, I found an old notebook from my first English class. The pages were filled with short, simple sentences and many mistakes. I remember how frustrated I felt back then, struggling to write even those basic phrases correctly. Reading those pages now made me smile because I can see how far I've come. It was a powerful reminder that every small step forward truly mattered. My reasons for learning English have grown and changed over time. In the beginning, I was learning English just so I could understand the lyrics of my favorite songs. But as I improved, English became more than just a goal. It became a part of my life. Now, I read books and watch movies in English for fun. I have met friends from different countries, and we share our stories in English. Using this new language, I can connect with people and ideas I never could before. With each new skill I gain, I also discover new challenges. Sometimes I hear a phrase or joke in English that I still don't understand, and it reminds me that I have more to learn. I want to expand my vocabulary and speak more fluently. So I practice by talking to myself or even thinking in English. One of my new goals is to read a novel in English from cover to cover without needing a dictionary. I also dream of traveling to an English-speaking country to use my skills in the real world. These goals excite me, even if they also feel a bit scary. Of course, there are days when I feel stuck or lose confidence. On those days, I remind myself of the courage it took to start this journey and the progress I have made. I think about the first time I understood a whole song in English, or the first time I chatted with a foreign friend online. Those moments felt like magic, and they keep me motivated when things get hard. Learning English has taught me so much more than just vocabulary and grammar. It has taught me patience, perseverance, and the joy of connecting with others. I have learned to laugh at my mistakes and to celebrate my small victories. This journey has shown me that I can achieve things I once thought were impossible. As I continue forward, I know that learning is a lifelong journey. My story of learning English doesn't end here. In fact, it feels like a new chapter is just beginning. I am excited to see where my English will take me next. Whatever challenges come, I am ready to face them with an open heart and the same determination that got me this far. Every day, I am writing the next part of my story, one English word at a time. Now I want to speak directly to you, the person reading or listening to my story. Learning English is not easy, but remember that every step you take brings you closer to your dream. As I look back on my own journey, I see that every challenge made me stronger and more determined. There were times I felt like giving up, and maybe you have felt that way too. But I kept going, and I'm so glad I did. I know you can do the same. No matter what challenges you face, trust that you have the strength to overcome them. Think about why you started learning English. Let that reason be your guiding light on tough days. Maybe you started because you wanted to travel, study abroad, or talk with new friends around the world. Whatever your reason, hold it close to your heart, because it will remind you to keep going. Every new word you learn, every sentence you speak, is a victory to be proud of. Don't worry about mistakes. Each mistake is a lesson that brings you one step closer to fluency. I believe in you, and you should believe in yourself too. Look at how far you've come already, and imagine how far you can go if you keep trying. Your journey is unique, and every day you are writing your own story of learning and growth. Remember, you are not alone. Many others share the same hopes and challenges in learning English, and we are all on this journey together. Supporting each other. English is more than just a language. It is a bridge connecting you with the world and new opportunities. So keep practicing, keep dreaming, and never forget that you can achieve your goals. If I could do it, I know that you can too. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it has inspired you to continue yours.